Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 4 of the Parallel League podcast. I'm your host, Alliestrasza, as well as my co-host, Mookah, and we've got a very special guest today, the one and only Lambyseries. If you haven't heard of him by now, you're probably not watching this or listening to this. Lamby, how are you doing this morning?
Yo, Ellie, yo, Mookah, what's up? I'm really happy to be here. I've wanted to do this for quite a while already, so quite glad to be here and hope we have a good episode this time.
Yes. For those of you that, like I said, may live under a rock and don't know Lamby thus far, former Hearthstone Grandmaster, Yu-Gi-Oh! World's semi-finalist, and also I've got a few parallel accolades under your belt already. The PDAO Kickoff Tournament, $50,000 tournament winner. That was probably your biggest accomplishment thus far, but what are some other parallel tournaments? Like, I know maybe you haven't won a whole past that, but like you've placed in high standing, so maybe just give us a little bit of a rundown of parallel stuff so far.
Yeah, I won the kickoff, right? The 50K, the first one to kick off the
Mhm.
entire parallel league. Then I top 8'd a few other things. Most recently this weekend I top 8'd one of the like the points qualifier things that they have like once a month, right? So I feel like in general I think I'm doing pretty okay when it comes to parallel. I think second or third on the leaderboard right now for Worlds, so pretty okay.
Just okay. Just okay.
Just
Second on the leaderboard.
And I think also like second in matches played too, just overall games,
think
right?
so.
Absolutely
Yeah.
insane.
I saw the statistic on one of the majors, right? Like when you guys were doing the broadcast, it said that I played like 4,000 games or something since the league started, and I was no. The funny thing was, I thought it was more than that. So okay, 4,000 since the league started. I guess it makes sense. I guess I thought it was like 5K ish, but sure.
Well, we're definitely going to get into some questions about how on earth you do that and how you keep up your mental and things like of that. But before we do, let's just go over a few, news pieces. As you said, this past weekend was the October Majors qualifier, and we want to give a big congratulations to Kintsugi for taking the win. So he is definitely automatically in the Swiss rounds of the next league major taking place in December. So a big congratulations to him. Do you guys want to discuss a little bit of the meta of that real quick? Just kind of like what you thought about it, what's been different? I'm curious.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested in Lamby's point of view first because you actually played in it, right? A lot of us had ideas of like what was still strong, what wasn't, and me at least looking at the matches, a lot of people tried a lot of different things, right? So how did it feel for you, I guess, playing in it?
This tournament is actually really good to talk about because we just came off of a patch, like I think a few days or a week before that, right? We got the universal nerf, we got the rallying cry nerf and stuff like that. So going into this tournament, I feel like in general the sentiment that everyone had was that I'm lost. Like everyone was lost because I went into the tournament seeing some of the most wonky lineups I've ever seen in my life playing parallel, including my own. Right, I definitely didn't bring what I thought was the best. I was just using the tournament to like test a little bit and see what's going on because clearly I don't think anyone was sure what 100% was going on. But I guess the general sentiment was that like Burn Cathy was the new top dog because well, Rallying Cry can't pull trees, right? So it still can pull tools now, which is like Spotter, Hearth, which is insane, right? For the Burn Cathy deck. So I think most people generally gravitated towards Burn Cathy. Some people were still trying out Universal Organ, but that one got hit so hard that like it was kind of bad, honestly. And then the rest was just filler. I feel like the fillers were like, oh, let me ban Cathy and then bring a bunch of random slower decks, or let me try and target Cathy and bring Alvaros in every deck. So that was like the general thing that I saw. But to be completely honest, I feel like no one really got it 100% right. But yeah, those were just like the two trends after like the first patch that I saw.
What did you bring? What was the lineup that you ended up bringing?
I brought Burn Cathy because I'm a big proponent of just bringing the best deck. So at least this feels like the best deck. So I brought Burn Cathy. I brought a Shroud because Shroud didn't get hit at all, right? So Shroud probably was a good bring. I brought an Organ Core deck, but this one's kind of funny because I felt like Organ Core, like non-uni Organ Core, has a chance to be playable right now because it was like overshadowed by uni for the longest time, right? So I think it's playable right now, but the problem is I didn't get a chance to really enjoy playing the Organ Core because my list was really bad. So that was a bit of a regret. Like I won, I think in my Swiss rounds I played like 6 rounds. I won 6-0 with Neve, and I lost every other game with the organ. So somehow still managed to make top 8, but like the organ was a big burden. So I was a bit upset about that one. And one thing I want to mention is that I think there was a huge surge in Earthen this tournament, because Burnt Cathy is something that can be sort of soft targeted by playing Alvaros in all your decks, right? And like hiding Alvaros behind a great wall of defenders is kind of
Mhm.
insane. So I saw a lot of Earthens this tournament as well. So yeah, I think those are some of the things. Yeah,
I would assume most people just banned the Cathy though, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
Most of the
makes
people did
sense.
it. Some people try to
Yeah.
target it though, but with varying degrees of success, I would say.
I don't think that deck is targetable. It's like way more high roll nature than the unit Catherine was, and now that it kind of has like free game to play, it just yes, you can prepare a deck around it. Like if you get the Alvaros in like the late game when they're starting to like churn the burn and like just get you with the triumphs and a spotter, it's really good. Like you win the game pretty much at that point. But it like for that situation to line up, there's also just as much of an opportunity for them to just steamroll you through if you don't have
Yeah,
the Alvaro at the right time. And like Augencore, the turrets are good, but if they finish you in one turn, it doesn't matter if you have
Mhm.
turrets. So I just feel like it was so. I understand that it's like definitely a targetable deck. It just feels way too tough to depend on your whole strategy to be like, I'm gonna lock down on the best deck on ladder right now, and that's gonna be my way to like winning. It felt really tough.
yeah. I want to throw one thought in there for like people listening as well, because I feel like a lot of times we try to like counter what the best deck might be, right? But like in a tournament it's a bit different, because tournament there is a ban, right? So I feel like people have
Mhm.
this general idea and like sentiment that they need to counter this thing because they've been playing ladder the whole time. But like in a tournament you kind of don't have to if you don't want to. So there's always that option to just like omit like playing against a specific deck when there is a ban.
I would imagine that Shroud was really the tricky one then, because if everyone was banning, Marco, right, I would think
Yeah.
next best probably was Shroud, and then that gives Earthen a really big, um, difficulty. But
Mhm.
I will say that it's truly a testament to how good Markolian is. Like, after it like, Rallying Cry getting nerfed, it's still top dog. I mean, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I think one thing Kathy has going for it that's really good is, I don't think it's underlooked, but I think it's one of the main reasons why it's still playable is because your early game is superbly strong, right? Like I always mention 1 into 1+1, which is basically you play a 1 drop on turn 1, and then on turn 2 you play 1 and 1, and then you get the buff, right? So essentially what you did is you did the Neas thing without even having to attack. So like it's just like the early game is superb, and Parallel is one of those games right now that it's very heavy emphasis on tempo, right? So like if you secure a really strong early game, you kind of just steamroll and snowball. So that's what Kathy has going for it.
Yeah. I'm surprised that you got neither of you guys have mentioned Naeus. I felt like Naeus was all over that tournament. And it may not necessarily be the best deck, right? But I think it definitely with Uni getting kind of hit a little bit and then some of these other matchups opening, like Naeus pairs pretty well into some of them. I think it does well into Augencore. It already did well into Universal. It has an okay matchup into Earthen. I think like so many players brought it just to see if it worked. And when I was checking matches in between tournament rounds, like usually the guys that were winning like the first few matches was always like a Naeus win. Like the Naeus would they were always trying to get the Naeus win in, and it was doing pretty well. I mean, I think the Shroud matchup is still a little weak, but maybe not as people brought as many Shroud because they were worried about like the turret Augencore. So then Naeus had like an opening in at least in this tournament. Who knows if it's in the next tournaments to just slide in and get like some easier wins.
Yeah, Neas is a really interesting one. Like I say it's interesting, but I don't mean it's difficult to play, because we all know how to
Mhm.
play Neas, right? You just play stuff and hit the face and then it gets buffed. But like I think Neas is in a really good spot now also, because it's in my opinion one of the best Alvaro decks right now. Like if you really don't want to ban burn Cathy, you can try and like play triple Alvaro in that deck, because your Alvaros aren't just Alvaros, they're Alvaros that grow bigger, after you
Mhm.
attack with them. So it's actually getting more and more annoying for the burn deck to beat them if the Alvaros stick on the board. But I think the funny thing about Neas is that like the difference between like going first and going second is huge, right? Like going first, your Belarusi striker can attack, so it becomes a 3-3, and then on 3-3 on turn 2 is insane. So but then going second, you get hit by they play a 1 drop and then they play a PS8, and then you don't have your 1 drop, and then it feels really bad. So I think Neas is scary to play like in a tournament, because the moment you go second, sometimes you just feel horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a tough one. I wanted to ask also how are you feeling about Augencore? I mean, you brought in, you weren't happy with the build. I guess the
Mm.
debate that I'm seeing now is like this like stun tempo version and then the backpack version, right? Like, do you have a favorite right now that you think you want to experiment with going into the next few tournaments?
So
Yeah.
I kind of feel like the Energy Bay one is a bit better because it's what Organ Core does, right? Like you play upgrades and then you can like I mean it's really great with Memento and I feel like Memento does win the mirror as well. But it's harder to pull off because it involves like multiple cards working in tandem together, you
Mhm.
know. Whereas the stun one, I feel like it's more individual cards that are good into like the meta, like you can play Alvaros and all that kind of thing. And of course, this deck has like one of the demolecularized style cards, right? It has AOP, the anti-organic pulse. So it does pretty good into like Nea stuff as well, I guess. But I'm not too happy with Organ Core right now simply because it feels a bit fair sometimes, you know. Like other than the turns where the Juggernaut Workshop, like the Juggernaut spawns, right, for free, the rest of the turns sometimes feels a bit fair. So I don't really know what to feel about this deck right now.
Okay. I feel like that's the one parallel that's going through the identity crisis. Like,
A bit.
Universal was definitely filling that bubble, but that was like no Augencore cards. But now we
Mhm.
have, the Augencore cards. Now that Universal kind of gone through a bit of a nerf. Some people still trying it. By the way, they still are giving it a shot, but I don't know how I feel about that. But yeah, it feels like it's definitely finding its identity crisis. What's the right build or what's not the right build?
I want Iraq to come back. I know the Devmons, they're a huge fan of Iraq, and I
Yeah.
don't know, I feel like it's one of the most interesting, Paragons to play, so hopefully he'll get his
There
time
might
again.
be a place for it. It hasn't been explored. If you like Earthen, then you still I think we talked about this with Veen, right? The last episode that
Mhm.
Earthen you kind of have to bring like another deck that maybe is like weak into Shroud but strong overall. So I could see it pairing with Earthen. I just don't know if the deck holds up right now. Probably needs some exploration, but maybe possible.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll
speaking
see.
of other organ calls, what I saw like one day after the patch, it wasn't a ruck. It was actually I played against like two Yan decks, which is insane because you never play against a Yan
3
deck. So it was a Yan OTK deck. So I think the only or like one of the only upgrades in the deck was Cathraxamine, right?
Yep.
So what they did was they banked the Cath and then they have like a battle ready thing, right? So they play like I guess like Scanner Probe plus Yan, and then it will flip
Yep.
multiple times, and then you get like 5 Cathraxamines on the Scanner Probe, and then it's OTK. Or yeah, anything that's battle ready essentially. So I played against like two of those and I was quite shocked. But it disappeared like within 24 hours of the of the patch though. But like I guess people are just trying stuff. Like how everybody tries to make Gafar work like on day one after a patch, right?
Yeah.
John is for the content creators trying to get those clips, not quite for the competitive players just yet,
Didn't
but
you
one
farm a
day
clip recently?
sorry?
Didn't you farm a John clip recently?
I kind of um was told to win a game with John for 5 prime, and I just made a universal John deck, and so I honestly didn't accept the prime because I was like, "This is cheating." I didn't even cast John. It's not fair. But anyway.
Bro,
Alright,
I
well, I
like to
wanna move
add
on.
to that as well, my bad. Like, I want to add to the because I was streaming the other day and I had a challenge from Barvin as well. He wanted me to
Yeah,
win with Life Vault. I don't even know if you guys know what Life Vault is. Basically,
Yeah.
every
yeah.
time you heal yourself or something, you get like a counter, and then uh once you have 30 counters, you can click activate, and then you can play your whole deck for free from starting from the top card. I mean, it's pretty much a meme card, but like Barvin was like 10 prime to win with the Life Vault. So I was like, okay, I took 2 hours to do it, but I did eventually win with the Life Vault. Uh, it was a Soshana deck. I'm never gonna do it ever again, but like it was fun. Yeah.
Actually, that's probably gotta be an interesting, conundrum for you, Lamby, because you're also a content creator, you stream all
Yeah.
the time, and so you probably wanna take those moments for entertainment, but also you have your ranking to uphold, so that's gotta be tough.
Yeah, I think that was just more like a one-off thing as well. But like in general, I feel like because like you said, you mentioned content creator, right? But I think for me, it's kind of in line with what I do as well. Because even before like Parallel, when I was like streaming other games, Hearthstone, Marvel Snap, like my content was very catered around like getting better at the game,
Sure.
improving, playing a little bit more optimally, plus some jokes and memes along the way. So I feel like me try harding is like something people are very used to seeing as well. So like I kind of just like encapsulate everything into like what I like to do and then like stream that, you know. So it becomes a lot easier. Like I don't have to. I think don't people don't expect me to play meme decks as often as maybe some other content creators that are a bit more known for memes and like
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So it's a bit easier for me there.
Well, that's kind of a nice segue into asking you more questions, just about you and your history. But before we get into those, I just want to go finish off the league news. Next qualifier for the YGG event, October 26th and 27th. It's this upcoming weekend, the East qualifier for the Big Manila tournament in November. So you would have already needed to sign up by then, but there's a wait list as well. So just keep a lookout for that. And then Mookah, you're going to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm proud to announce, well, it'll probably be out by the time this episode is out, but Exile is hosting the Exile Underground Minor, which is coming up the week after the YGG tournament this weekend. So next weekend, signups will go up next week, but it's going to be on November 2nd and 3rd. I'm really excited about this because Exile is the bond that I'm a part of, and we have some cool little, guests as commentators and stuff. So, I'll let one of them speak right now.
Yeah, so I'll be casting for the first time for Parallel in this Exile event. I'm really excited because I used to cast for like Hearthstone and also Marvel Snap. So being able to do it for this game that I now really love is something that I'm very hyped for. And you know how it's like nice to have a diversified portfolio as well. So instead of just a competitor, I'm also a caster, and maybe in the future I'll be doing something else. So excited to see how this turns out in 2 weeks' time.
So you mentioned being a Hearthstone Grandmaster, Yu-Gi-Oh, that type of stuff. Like, do you want to give the people a little bit of an overview of just that journey, and also, like finding Parallel? I'm sure a lot of people know a little bit of
Mhm.
the backstory, but this is the opportunity to go into a little bit more detail, kind of with your start in card games.
Yeah, so just feel free to cut me off anytime I get a bit too like long-winded because I have quite a long story to share. But okay, here we go. So I started playing card games actually when I was 10. I started with Yu-Gi-Oh! And maybe I found that I had a natural knack for this because at 11, I was talking to Muka about this yesterday. At 11 years old, I got top 8 at nationals for Yu-Gi-Oh! So kind of like some boy genius thing going on. So that's kind of interesting, right? But I didn't do anything with card games until I was 18 when I picked up Yu-Gi-Oh! Again. So there's like 7 years in between where I didn't really play card games. So I picked it up again when I was 18, and then the next year I won nationals. I actually won the nationals, and then went to worlds. So I got semifinals at worlds for Yu-Gi-Oh. But at the time I was not very good with social media, so I didn't really know how to publicize myself. So it kind of just died down after that.
Yeah.
And then I went into Singaporean guys have to go to the military, and then in the military I discovered Hearthstone because it was on mobile. It just came out in 2014, 15, I think. Yeah. So I discovered it on mobile, and it was kind of like mobile card gaming. I got really like hooked on it super quick. And then I went to university, and in university I got my first chance to play on a pro team, like a local pro team for Hearthstone. I was on a few teams, but I think the one that I want to talk about was like I was on a team with another fellow Parallel player, Sequinox, for a few years. We actually traveled like around the world to compete in Hearthstone for quite a few years. So yeah, I know him really well. And then Hearthstone, I think around the COVID period, we stopped being able to travel, right? So that was also like my lucky and biggest break, whereby like we were playing all these tournaments online, and then I won a few big ones, placed really well, and then I got into the Hearthstone Grandmaster system, which is for I guess it's saying it, that it's like a bit like an Overwatch league kind of thing makes more sense to more general people because they kind of know what that is, right? So Hearthstone Grandmasters is like a league system of the top players in the game. So we compete like weekly, and then there's like point systems, like, and then there's relegations as well. So it was
Mhm.
quite a very it was a stressful time because it's like it's directly tied to your income and everything like that. So I kind of learned how to manage a lot of my like mental game through
Mhm.
that and through a few other things as well. And then once Hearthstone became a little bit less like popular when it comes to like competitive level and competitive scene kind of thing, I transitioned more fully into being a content creator, whereby I started streaming a bit of Hearthstone, and then I discovered Marvel Snap, which was where I got my biggest break when it came to streaming, because I feel like the Marvel IP is huge, right? So like I was playing their card game, and I was like telling people that like I'm really good at card games and stuff like that. So people started watching me, and then they started seeing me win all these Marvel Snap stuff, and then so I got a big boost in popularity and growth on Twitch from that. And then comes Parallel, which is because I guess I got a boost in my growth from Marvel Snap. So I guess I was approached to do this like invitational thing last year in December. A lot of us did it, like Barney, Fino, Thais, Tyler. I think Ellie, you played that thing, or did you?
I casted it.
You
Yep.
casted it, yeah, you
Mhm.
casted it, yeah. So that was the first foray into Parallel for me. Like, I actually didn't realize that I would be so hooked onto Parallel because I think one thing that Parallel has going for it is that it takes all the elements of all other good card games and puts it into one game. And then, like, the coolest thing is that, like, ever since I joined and like other pro players joined, like everyone just kind of like it's like a one-way street. Like you try out the game and then once you get past the initial stages, you kind of don't leave. And like the people that usually leave, they leave very early on because they couldn't get through the tutorial or something. But like once you get past the initial stages, I know very little people that leave the game. So like this is not like trying to like say anything, but I just feel like Parallel just like ticks all the boxes for me when it comes to a competitive game. So yeah, so that's my journey in a nutshell. There's probably a few things that I missed out, but probably nothing too significant. But yeah, that's how I landed up in Parallel right now.
One of my favorite things that you did was shortly after I think that first, influencer invitational tournament, you know, it started to get some buzz from the TCG community, and you made a video on Twitter
Yeah.
saying, "No, guys, I actually like legitimately enjoy
Yeah.
playing this game. Like this is not fake." And
Yeah.
I think that definitely spoke volume to how you feel about it, and it's just been really, really cool to see your journey with it, honestly. So pretty cool.
I mean, regarding the video that you mentioned, it's quite interesting because I think I'm someone that's generally very like I don't really participate in drama. I don't really want to get involved in this kind of thing. I just want to play my card games, man. But like one thing I didn't really like was that like because I got involved in Parallel and people thought that I wasn't being authentic. And I think one thing that I
Yeah.
don't like is people questioning my authenticity. So I had to make the video for my own sake as well. So I did it, and then like I think my community was generally very receptive to it, and they know that like if I'm committing to something, I'm being very real about it. It's not just for show. So I think it turned out really well. Like in general, my community is very supportive of me playing Parallel as well. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it takes guts to be to do stuff like that too. So it's unfortunate that it's needed when people question your authenticity, but you kind of have to do it, especially in a new wave of technology and stuff like that. So I definitely commend you for doing it. And it does. It seems like your community is quite supportive. Like I think they just recognize that you genuinely enjoy it. So then at that point, like why try and take something away from someone if you're just absolutely like
Yeah.
genuinely having a good time. I have a quick question, kind of random. How did you get your name, Lambyseries? I just don't know the history of that. I just want
Yeah.
you to quickly talk about it.
All right, so this is good because like finally I can get it on like on video to tell people what the
Okay.
name means, right? So Lambyseries actually okay, so people always associate it to like Lamborghini, Lamb Chop or whatever, but like it's actually nothing to do with that. So what Lambyseries is basically when I was younger, I played this other like online game, and I saw on a random forum post something Lamby something, and I needed to make a username, so I just grabbed the Lamby part of it. And then so it actually has nothing to do with anything that you guys think about. It's the most random thing ever. Like I know like some usernames have like some puns or whatever to it, right? But this one doesn't have anything. It literally just got plucked out of a forum post, and I decided to use it as like my name. And it kind of just stuck because like people knew me as this person right now. So it was just actually Lamby. But the series was because I wanted to make this into a branding. So it's like a series of Lamby things. So it's the branding. I mean, I think people never really considered it that way as well. But like, I wanted to brand myself as this Lamby person for a long time already. So that's why I added the series at the back to make it seem like there's gonna be a sequel, prequel, and what kind of thing. So
I like it because some
yeah,
people they pick their brand name and then they put like SC for StarCraft or Hearthstone or whatever. You're
yeah,
like, no, I'm Lamby through all the games. Okay,
Yeah.
yep.
I love it.
That's amazing. I wanted to ask too about like, we talked a little bit about your shift to parallel. I feel like whenever like, creators from other ecosystems come to parallel, it's kind of glossed over that decision. I mean, same for Ali, right? You guys both had to make that decision to go over. What was like was there a moment or anything that like cemented it for you? Cuz I remember when you were first trying it out, like you went to visit Death Sea with a few of the other guys, and like that's when you guys were like exploring. There's like that viral ASIO clip when you guys were like
Mm.
all playing. Were there any big moments that like cemented like, okay, I want to play parallel?
Okay, so this is a very interesting question. So I think why I wanted to play Parallel after my initial attempt, right, was because I think within 24 hours of trying out the game for the invitation, I knew that I would like the play of the game already, like the way the game plays, like the banking system and all that. So like I like the game, how it flows. And then another thing I really like, which has really nothing to do with the game at the play as well, is I like the art. Like I've always been someone that has been more in favor of like serious looking sci-fi style art. Like I know some people like cutesy stuff, but I prefer the realist kind of art. That's just me personally. So that's why I knew that the moment I saw the art and I liked the gameplay, I would probably be playing it in the future regardless. But I think it only really became like really a time investment for me when like in March this year, right, when they were starting to onboard many creators. I took a second big look at it and I was like, okay, so I already know I like this game. I already know I like the art. Do I want to spend time playing the game? And I think what made me say yes was because I realized that this game was filling a void in my life for a very long time, because at the core, like I'm a streamer, yes, I'm a content creator, but I was a competitor first before I was a streamer, So that's why my content is also very competitive based, because I enjoy competing. I enjoy the thrill of victory, the stress from competition, and the adrenaline from like winning. Like I enjoy all these kind of things. So I feel like it's been missing for a while. I think the one person that I share this vibe the most with is Tyler as well. Because Tyler and I, we talked a lot about this, whereby there was always something missing streaming for fun. Like obviously streaming is fun, but streaming for fun with less of a competitive incentive is less fun for people like us. So I feel like being able to do it competitively is, to me, it's fun. Okay, I'm not saying stress is fun, but I'm saying that like competition is fun, and the stress that comes from it is a byproduct of the fun. So yeah, that's what I think honestly it really came at the right time. Like, not trying to say that like if another game came around and it was like as good as Parallel, I would be playing that game. But like Parallel came around at a time whereby I needed competition and it was just perfect timing. So for me it was like, all right, it's just a natural choice to do this. And yeah, everything kind of worked. I mean, it's working out fine right now. Just that, of course, I always believe that we can always do more. Like, so I'm always trying to do a bit more. Yeah.
I love it. I think, yeah, my question is like, how do you do it? And the answer is, I think you just built different. I think you just like the stress, the stress of the competition, the grind. It's pretty cool to see. I had, so you mentioned earlier that you are a player that just sort of usually goes for playing the best decks.
Mhm.
And I'm kind of curious, you know, doing a self-assessment, do you think that you are a good deck builder, or do you feel like you just sort of let the
Mm.
meta figure itself out and then you kind of just lean super hard on like playing those best decks? Like, what are your strengths and weaknesses as a player, do you think?
Oh, that's a really, really good question. Like, one thing that I think I really like about myself personally is I think I'm very self-aware. Like, I know what I'm best at and what I'm not. So let's just like break it down into what I'm good at and bad at, right? I feel like I'm very good at optimizing a deck. Like, I might not be the best ever deck builder. Like, I can build decks. To be able to optimize, you have to be able to build, right? So I can build fine, but I think a lot of people come up with ideas, but I'm always better at refining initial ideas. So like I when a new meta approaches or pops up, right, I will just net deck everything. Like I'm shameless net decker. I will just copy everything that you do and then I'll make it better. So I think I'm better at optimizing an initial shell. I feel like when it comes to deck, playing the best deck, since we mentioned a little bit about that, I do enjoy playing the best decks because the theory is sound, right? It's called best deck for a reason. There's a reason why it's best. It's best because it's unbeatable to a certain extent. Of course, there are certain metas whereby the best deck is a very beatable best deck. Then maybe I'll gravitate towards a bit more of trying to counter that. But I mean, because I've been playing card games for so many years, when there is a meta, it's meta for a reason. So there's few times in like card games that I've experienced whereby the best deck is like can completely be shut down by some random out of nowhere kind of thing. But there have been times that are like that, yes. But for the most part, I think building the best deck, building towards like making the best deck even better and optimizing card choices to win the mirror is something that I'm a bit more personally invested in, because like I always believe the best is the best, but you can play the best better than other people. So
I like that.
Yeah, that's really big. I mean, we saw that a lot from you the last meta with like the Catherine mirrors, the unit Catherine mirrors. Um, I think there was so much skill ceiling there to see in the mirror match. A lot of people I learned, I think, a ton from your stream. There's a lot of people that I met that were like, "Oh, well, I saw this clip from Lamby and he did this. Like, what do you think about it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, he did it like perfectly." Just understanding that in certain decks, like especially with that deck, it was really hard because sometimes you had to not play the mana curve or the energy curve.
Yes.
You just played the best play that would line you up to a better play later, and that was really hard for some players to grasp. That like, oh, but he didn't use all his energy, and you're like, but you don't need to in that matchup as much. It's more about setup and trading pieces more logically and that kind of thing. So um, I think the mirror matches in a lot of parallel metas are very, very tough, and that's definitely a place where you want to shine. So that makes sense that you focus a lot on that.
Yeah, I just think like the unit Cathay mirror. I just want to talk like maybe a bit about it, which is very interesting because like we mentioned like a bit earlier in the podcast that like Parallel is still very tempo based, right? But this is that one matchup that has appeared, like, I think for the first time, whereby you are playing a tempo deck that kind of doesn't want to spend all your mana every single turn because you will run out of stuff if they clear your board. Like if you play all your stuff into a demolecularize, you will lose with this deck because this deck actually is just very efficient at like drawing cards and like getting resources to play. But you do run out of stuff very easily if you get cleared. So one thing that we do in the mirror like before the nerfs was that like the first person to like rip the artillery volley on a low value board probably will lose because then I'll rip my artillery volley on your bigger board and then you run out of stuff, that kind of thing. So it's very weird because this is common in other card games. Like if you play other card games before, you kind of want to bait your opponent into doing the thing first, then you do the thing. But in Parallel, it's not common yet, maybe because we only had 2 sets so far. But I feel like going forward, maybe in future sets, there'll be more of this kind of like mind game thing whereby we don't just do the best possible thing because we can. We do it after they do their thing, so we make it even a better thing. Like our best thing becomes better. Yeah, that kind of thing.
It's fascinating. All right, I want to talk a little bit about the tournament grind, just for other competitive players that are listening and you're the best person to get this insight on. So, first question: how do you not burn yourself out in this process?
So the question is, how do I not burn myself out while grinding ladder tournaments or?
I think honestly, just the whole thing, like
Okay.
ladder finishes that qualifies you for points, but
Mm-hmm.
the tournaments do as well. So maybe go through each one and
Right,
say,
sure.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I guess for ladder grinding, it's the most like difficult one when it comes to like burning out because at the end of the day, you need to play a critical mass of games, right, to get up the leaderboard. Like because no matter how good you are, if you don't play enough, sometimes you just don't get enough sample size of like games to like see the MMR increase, because you obviously will lose games, right? So that's the hardest one in my opinion because when it comes to ladder, you are on your own time, on your own target. There's no like anyone pushing you and all that kind of thing. So you really need to like dial in and you really need to like tell yourself that like if you want to reach a certain rank, you need to play like X amount of games as well. And also you need to win X amount of games as well. So I think how I usually do it is that step number 1, it's irreplaceable. You need to enjoy the game because if you don't enjoy the game, everything feels like a chore. So you cannot let this feel like a chore to you. Like if you don't enjoy the game, you won't be able to enjoy clicking the button many times in one day. So I enjoy clicking the button many times in one day. Yes, that's one. I think second thing is also like for ladder specifically. There are a few myths that I want to debunk. No, there is no such thing as like matchmaking, like RNG and all. Like there's no such thing as when you switch a deck like you get paired against your worst matchup. No, there's no such thing like that. That's just a myth. Okay, but so I feel like one thing what I'm trying to drive home at is that like if you're winning with a deck and then you suddenly start losing, it doesn't mean that your deck suddenly becomes bad. It just means that maybe you're getting unlucky, maybe you're playing a bit worse because of mental fatigue. So the biggest thing that I see people do is every time they lose, they switch their deck. Every time they lose, they switch their deck. Every time they lose, they switch
Right.
their deck. And then they become a bit less experienced on particular decks. Like I mean they're less experienced on particular decks, right? So then they start losing again because they're inexperienced on particular decks, and then it down spirals into losing a lot. So I think TLDR, if you are winning on ladder, don't change your winning recipe. Doesn't just because of a few small sample sizes and like maybe because you're like fatigued and stuff like that.
Real quick.
Ladder. Yeah,
Wait, real
go.
quick. I want to ask,
Sorry.
how often do you switch decks?
How often do I switch? Okay, so this is very weird because I just told you guys not to switch decks, right? But I don't
Yeah.
switch. Okay, so I don't switch decks because I'm losing. I switch decks because I get bored very easily. I'm someone that
Sure.
gets bored very easily, and I know that it's detrimental. But what you should be doing is not. But I tend to switch a bit here and there because I get bored of a deck quite easily. But
Okay.
the correct thing to do is stick to what's working. Yeah, and I guess I want to talk a little bit about tournaments as well because we mentioned that it's a bit of a different thing, right? For tournaments, I feel like the most important thing is we need to remember that this is a card game, right? So a card game, there is variance. No matter how good you are, you will end up losing a bit here and there. So like the best players in this game have like what 60 something percent win rate of sorts. You know, it's not like you're playing another form of game where like in FPS, like the pro is gonna beat the not pro like 99% of the time. It's not that kind of thing. So one thing I remember Tyler mentioned on one of his Twitter posts, it's that like I'm a good player, he's a good player. If we play in tournaments, on average, maybe 1 out of 5 times we will hit the top card. And that's already very amazing, you know. So I think in tournaments, the most important thing is you need to remind yourself that you are allowed to lose. Like, no matter how good of a player you are, you need to constantly remember that you are allowed to lose. Because if you make a big loss in a tournament, you lose in a tournament, and then you're like so fed up with yourself, you feel like like everything went wrong, and then I mean it affects your mental, right? And you won't be able to play in the next one. So I think the mark of a good player is not just about knowing how to play the cards, it's about knowing how to allow yourself to lose when you know that you couldn't have done anything else. So yeah,
That's huge.
that's
Yeah.
a bit
That's
long,
like that's
right?
probably one of the best lessons I've heard in for this game in general.
Yeah.
So I guess my follow up to that is like all this together, right? Ladder, tournament. When does Lamby get like his reset time, and how does he do that, and how long is that? Are there like big short bursts, or every once in a while you need to walk away? Like how do you manage all that?
Okay, so the question is like, how do I manage not tilting? Is that something along the
Yeah.
lines of what you're
Yeah, not
asking?
tilting. Yeah.
Okay, so trade secret time. This one's important. So, I've done this for years, by the way, and it always works. So, spoiler and some fun facts is I used to play like not just esports. I played real sports. I used to play tennis as well. Like I competed in varsity tennis. So I kind of had competing like in my life for like my entire life. So and the funny thing is I was 10 years ago, I was formerly like a super tilter. Like I tilted at everything. Like I was the guy that didn't come from wealth, but I was breaking tennis rackets like left and right because I lost a match, that kind of thing. I was the
Really?
record breaker guy. Yeah, I was the record smasher guy. So how I graduated from that is I think somewhere along the line I realized firstly the thing that I mentioned, you are allowed to lose, okay, no matter how good you are. And second thing is also I felt like I decided to just like wake up and then realize that I need to figure out a way to control this like feeling of like upsetness or whatever you want to call it, because I don't think it's wrong to be upset when you're invested at something, because people will say things to you like, oh, you shouldn't be upset, it's only a game, you shouldn't be upset, it's only a match. But the thing is, how can you not be upset if you are invested in something, like you are invested in the success of something? Obviously you'll be upset if it doesn't succeed. So what I decided to like learn how to do is like learn how to channel my upsetness into another thing. So I have this thing whereby I like to use this quote because I use it on my Marvel Snap streams a lot as well. Whereby if you guys watch this movie Inception, there's this thing, right? They have this totem thing where they spin to remind themselves they are still part of reality, right? So I have this like ritual that I do every time I'm a little bit upset. I'm not gonna tell you guys what the ritual is because it's my thing, but
Okay.
like I have this ritual that I do that every time I feel a bit upset before it gets out of control, I go and do the thing, and then it helps me reset my brain to be like a bit less upset. So if you keep doing that every single time, it becomes a habit. So TLDR, the trade secret is not really a secret. It's just that everyone needs a totem. So everyone needs a thing you can do to reset. Like it's your personal thing. It's like your secret 12-word phrase or something. Okay, anyway, but like there's a thing that you need to do every single time to help you reset. Whatever that thing is, find it for yourself. But like if it becomes a habit for you, then you will always have a way to reset before you jump overboard.
I love that answer. To me, that is alchemy in its finest, right? It's taking, something like anxiety and fear, alchemizing it into excitement and,
Yeah.
focus. So you've sounds like you've mastered that. I cannot picture you breaking rackets. I'm not gonna lie. Like I think that you've come a long way then
I don't
because
have
you
pictures
seem
as well, but it's fine.
very very level-headed, and one thing that you do a lot, in post tournaments is that you go back and review your games, and you're very like, you're critical of yourself, but you're also, level-headed and, honest, and so I definitely commend you for how you go about, dealing with the pressures of
Thank
being
you.
a competitive player. It's really cool.
Yeah, just a little bit about the post-match analysis thing.
Mhm.
That's actually something that I'm still working on right now, in a sense whereby I think it's a strength and a weakness that I'm critical of myself, because
Mhm.
you have to be critical of yourself to be able to improve, because like if you think you're the best and you can never get better, or no one can get better than you, then you will definitely stop being the best. So the way to stay the best is to constantly learn from the people that like potentially can beat you. You need to learn from like people that are catching up, so you always stay ahead. So that's why I'm critical. But I guess the downside of that is also sometimes I need to remember to not be too overcritical, because
Yeah.
you need to be able to differentiate between like tangible and controllable stuff and uncontrollable outcomes as well. So to be able to like split that up and know that sometimes not everything is within your control, and a loss is just a loss, and then you're allowed to lose, right? So that's like something that I'm always constantly reminding myself that I gotta do.
Love it. And so, for those listening at home, I think one point that we wanted to sort of drive in this episode is that, the league is designed in a way where you don't have to do absolutely everything because now we're in October. The league's been going on since July. And so, definitely there are, like some people probably feeling a little bit burned out on the process, right? And so, I think it's important to know that, you don't have to participate in literally everything, to sort of save your mental in this process because, if you want to qualify the world championship, you don't want to be tilted, because you're burnt out, etc. So, you can always go to what is it, parallelleague.game, right? That gives you the schedule of all the events and stuff like that. And yeah, Lamby, what would be your suggestion then, for not necessarily burning out? With the league, I think.
Yeah, so from what I know of the league from playing it myself, right? I actually believe that the system is actually relatively lenient already. Like you really don't have to play um everything to qualify for Worlds. Fun fact, yes, I'm like number 2 or number 3 on the leaderboard right now, but I also didn't actually play every single available tournament that there was to be played. Like I skipped a few because I had a life. I was traveling and I had holidays. So I went out as well. I didn't play every single weekend because sometimes it's not possible, right? But like I'm still second on the leaderboard. Why? Because I would say I'm obviously good at the game, but I also invest time in the game. So there's a lot of other options, right? There's ladder if you can't do it every weekend tournament. There's in-game tournaments, which is literally anytime you are free, and there's multiple in a day. You can play in-game tournaments, and then obviously there is the weekend tournament. So how you structure it for yourself is really up to you. So like it really depends on where you want to like put more time into, right? Like for me, I got a lot of my points from ladder because well, I like to play a lot of ladder, but I skipped some tournaments and I'm still in a decent spot right now because I did get a lot of points from ladder. So it kind of compensates itself a little bit. I think I want to not debunk, sorry. I want to address something, which is that like I did say that the system is lenient, but it's also not supposed to be easy, right? We are going towards a 32-person world championship of like hundreds and thousands of dollars. Like it's not supposed to be easy for you to get there, by the way. Like yes, you can skip stuff. Yes, you can make it after even if you skip stuff. But if you expect to get there with no effort, it's not the right way of thinking, and it's not possible as well. So like you gotta work for it, right? Like, and I really can say from the bottom of my heart that I really think that the system is already super lenient towards people that want to try and make the world championships.
Yeah, I've seen a ton of players also, especially some that are like way ahead on points, go to the like, for example, the qualifiers and be like, "Oh, I don't want to play this one," and I'm like, I pulled them up, and I'm like, "Bro, you're in the top 10 or in the top 20. You don't got to play this one. Just go enjoy your weekend. I'll see you at the next like minor or whatever." It's just that nature. I think a lot of players aren't used to this kind of environment. For one, even if they are good at the game, just not being used to like seeing so many tournaments and having the decision or the availability, the option to not compete. Like if you're already in a good standing, you don't always have to show up. You can be fine. Like I even had like Zarathustra on a call that I interviewed him for a video, and he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna show up to every tournament," and he's like, "I have to," right? And I'm like, "No, you won the majors. You don't have to. You actually don't have to show up more than anyone." Um, but it's like it's kind of. I mean, and he's a seasoned player, but it's
Yeah.
goes to show that like that feeling everyone has it. It's just like sometimes if you have something else going on, it doesn't hurt if you're in a good standing to walk away. Like even for this first major, right? The cutoff was like 3 or 4 points. That was that's achievable. That was so
Yeah.
achievable. So I think if you've been competing since the beginning or somewhere near the start, definitely should take some time during some of these tournaments to reset and like kind of chill out and stuff. Go if you're going on a vacation, don't stop the vacation because there's like a minor coming up. Like go on vacation. Your points will still be there and you won't be like that. It won't be that crazy. At the end of the day, even in these tournaments, right? Like what, 8 people are getting a ton of points. So it's not like you're getting shifted down like a whole insane thing. Like, oh, 30 people are ahead of me now. I don't think that's even possible, like outside of a major or something. So yeah, that I think we need to see more now that we're like kind of like in the middle of it. Some people try to take those resets if they need them or whatever, and then come back, find their zen and be refreshed and stuff.
Yeah, I got one point to add to that, Muka. I want to
Yeah,
agree and disagree as well because this is from personal experience doing the
yeah,
whole
yeah,
Hearthstone ladder grind thing. Because Hearthstone also had this point system in the past whereby X amount of points qualifies you to a championship, that kind of thing. Like they had it for like every year. So I think one thing that I would advise people who are maybe still planning out their like route to worlds, like if you're not like at the tippy tops of the leaderboard and stuff like that, I feel like it's a bit better to try a little bit harder now because I would rather front load more points and then manage it as like manage like near the end and see how many more points I need than like be like like scurrying for points at the end
yeah.
because it adds additional stress to yourself. Like if you're very far behind at the end and you need a lot of points, you probably like need to play everything and you're playing everything not just as usual, you're playing everything with additional stress because you are doing this whole like mental catch-up game thing. So I feel like if you guys have a bit of spare time now, subject to your own availability, try and like front load your effort a little bit more because then it's easier like at the end to see like, oh, I'm only missing a little bit rather than like you don't front load it, you want to do everything at the last point, right? And then that becomes a bit more stressful. Like it's a thing that I've experienced in Hearthstone a lot whereby like we always do this last day ladder grind thing because we want to hit one rank and then like it's always harder to do it on the final day than hitting it earlier and just like chilling a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that translates perfectly to like in-game tournaments. There's so many players that wait till like the end of the month and they're like, I can't get my 3 wins. Like,
Yeah.
it's either like the tournaments haven't filled because the people that got their points are already kind of chilling, or the matchups are just harder because whoever wants it is like, those are the guys that really, really want it, and you got to play like a lot of harder matchups and stuff like that. I find like if you start in the beginning of the month, the guys that get like the 3 points and like I think this month was crazy. Like a lot of good players got it done early this time. Like I
I
remember
win
seeing
one
tweets
day,
from like
right?
Jarla. Yeah, like Jarla's like 3 points one day and stuff like, and a few other players like him. And I was like, dang, like that. It feels good too because then you can like worry about the bigger tournaments. You don't have to like stress about signing in and checking into a tournament and waiting for it to launch. And if it doesn't launch, then you're like, oh man, I got to wait another 4 hours. So some of that stuff, 100%, yeah, definitely front load. And you're right. Like if your points are not in the highest place right now, this is like where the effort can go a long way and save you some heartache at the end.
Yeah. Don't procrastinate, but at the same time, if you are a new competitive player, there are definitely still chances, like
Yeah,
last chance qualifiers and tournaments. Like Zarathustra, wasn't he only just started playing not
Yeah.
that long ago, won the
yeah, a few months
major.
ago.
So, don't let that discourage you, but I definitely agree. Don't procrastinate if you can. All right, I want to transition the end of the episode, Lamby, to sort of give you the floor, just kind of talk to the parallel team, kind of like, maybe what you think they're doing wrong, what you think they're doing right, and that goes for like game design as well as the tournament scene. Like, I know that's quite a open floor there, but let's maybe start with the competitive esports scene. Like, you know, what have you liked so far, and is there anything that you would like to see them change for next year?
Okay, this is a good starting point. I already have what I want to say for this particular
Okay.
like segment. So I feel like when it comes to the competitive scene, we are doing a lot of things right. Like we have a lot of opportunities to qualify. The level is very high. The broadcast is also looking pretty good. Like I feel like they've already mapped out a very nice system leading up to Worlds. And I think one thing I would really want to add to this, like if anything, right, for season 2 or maybe even doable in season 1, is not so much about the competition itself, but like I really value like this superstar building, world building thing when it comes to competition, which is I feel like there's a lot more that can be done for like building up like superstars that do well in the tournament, because that's the whole point of esports, right? It's to build superstars, like building names that people can cheer for, building names that people will remember for the future, building the lore of the competitive scene. So I feel like maybe on broadcast there can be more like I mean, you guys show the player stats and stuff like that, which is kind of nice. But like, I think maybe there can be like, it's about a lot of effort, but maybe like top 8 player interviews before their match, that kind of thing. Like snippets into like a little bits about their past and stuff like that. Make more interviews happen. I want more personalities to be discovered through competition. You know, like I guess maybe I'm speaking very personally as well, because I was discovered through competition. 2018, I played this very huge match versus former world champion Hunter Ace, and then I won, and then a lot of people knew me from that. So I was discovered through competition, and also Yu-Gi-Oh! World Championships, right? So I really value like world building and story building from competition, and I think that's something that could be done a bit better. Not saying it's bad now, but I think it's underlooked a little bit. And what is done well is like the scene, the competition, like leading up to worlds. But what I think can be done better is like the world building of the players that are doing well. Yeah. Is there anything else? I kind of lost myself there.
No, like you're happy with the structure, it seems, of how
Yes.
the esports league has been set up. Yeah, I mean, if you're happy there, then you could transition into talking about the design of the game and
Yes.
things that you would like to see.
Yeah, I think gameplay wise, one thing I really like is the banking mechanic, right? Like I think I mentioned this on like many different places as well. But banking mechanic is essentially asking you to make a tough decision every single turn. You know, like you have to make
Yeah.
one difficult decision every turn, right? Like we always talk about like your hand cannot be too good. If not, oh, what's the bank if my hand is too good, you know? So like I like that. I think gameplay wise I actually have not much comment, because I'm just very in the midst of like enjoying the gameplay. I just wish that Aftermath, well, it's already Aftermath set is already like done. So but I do think maybe in future sets I would like there to be a lot of, or at least a bit more comeback mechanics for going second, you know, because I feel like going second shouldn't be too big of a downside. I don't know who said this, but I think like someone was saying that like the downside of going second shouldn't be too big and stuff like that as well. But like yeah, I agree that the going second downside should be a little bit less, you know, because now like the game is very tempo based, which is fine, but there needs to be less of an incentive for just going first, you know. So that is one thing that hopefully future cards that are produced allow us to do. Other than that, honestly, I never really once had a complaint about the gameplay, because I did start getting into this game because of the gameplay and the art. So never really had an issue with that personally. So yeah, I guess that's all I got to say on this topic.
I love it. How many avatars is too many avatars, Lamby? Tell us.
Oh god. Okay. So this question is because I have this severe love for avatars right now. Like I might be the person that like the only person in the world that can even remember all the avatar like body part names, the torsos, the weapons, the
No,
helmets.
really.
I can remember a lot of them. Yes, I stare at the avatar page like once a day. Okay, anyway, Parallel Colonies, I don't know when it's coming, but like I'm super excited for Parallel Colony. Just because I can have a use case for my avatars as well. Yeah, no, this whole avatar thing is just it's just something that I love. I love the art of the avatars. I always look to see if there are rare ones that are a bit cheaper so I can buy them. It's like collecting, you know, like I collect cards. I collect collectibles. I love collecting like stuff of value to me for like the longest time already. Like even in Marvel Snap, like I collect all these art versions of cards that I already have that don't actually add to my gameplay. But I just collect the art. I just like it. Like people are wondering like if I'm just doing this purely because of like I'm bullish or whatever. No, I just like to collect the thing. I literally just like to collect the thing. Like recently I like literally yesterday before filming I bought this the comic book, right? And then like I didn't get the exact one that I want. So I went to Goldie and I was like, Goldie, can you sell me the one that I really want? And he was like, sure. So I was just like, okay. So like I just generally like collecting stuff, and avatars feel like something that I mean there's so many different types, right? So I'm at 11 right now. I don't know if I'm gonna stop, but maybe 22. We'll see. We'll see.
I
Over
do
time.
know that Lambie is literally the person that if you win an avatar giveaway or you want to buy an avatar, you immediately message and tag him and be like, "Is this good?" And he'll be like, it's missing this, or it has this,
Yeah.
you're looking for this." And you just like, I'm like, how did this guy become a whiz? Like he got onboarded to all this stuff later than us, but he's just like he's the avatar master. I think you and the only other person is like Fino that are like so engrossed in like the metadata of like all the avatars and know how it works. and all the traits, what's attractive, what's not. I feel like you guys even created the meta of like what's attractive and what's not.
Yeah.
And now everyone is like starting to fall in line with that. But the amount that you know and love about them, it like some I catch myself just opening it up now. After seeing you talk about it sometimes in chats, I just pull it up and I'm like, let me look at what's on the floor. And I'm like, what am I doing? I'm not buying one right now. I have to close this. I gotta stop myself.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, that energy is like amazing.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
I think
send
one I
you.
think
Oh, go ahead.
sorry, yeah, I think the person that actually knows like as much about avatars as me is actually the Brazilian kid. I don't know if you guys know the Brazilian
Oh
kid. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I have this secret group chat with him where we only talk about avatars. Okay, I guess that's called a DM, right? It's a two people group chat. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
it's a DM. Yeah, I DM him about avatars randomly, and then we just like nerd out about avatars for no apparent reason. But yeah, that's actually my avatar buddy.
I'm gonna send you my avatars and get an avatar assessment with Lamby. That could be a
It
series.
hurts when he roasts you. It
PSA
hurts.
grading avatars. Yeah.
Great avatars.
He roasted
Well,
my avatars and I was sad. I was like, I need more. I need better avatars. Got to trade my way up.
I guess so. But it's good to know that you are very excited for Colony too. So you can actually, use them, put them to good use. But no, I don't think anyone can question your authenticity here. You're not buying stuff because you're just like bullish on it. You clearly love just collecting, being in the ecosystem. You love the art, the lore, and all the things. So that definitely shines through, at least to me, and I think it does to everybody else. See. All right. Well, I think we're about ready to wrap up here. Are there any final thoughts that you have that you just want to like say to the community or anything specific?
Yeah, I think I just have one last thing to add, which is that like this is actually the first Web3 game that I'm like super invested in, right? Like I've been exposed to a lot of Web3 stuff in the past as well, because the people around me, they all love Web3 as well. So I've been exposed, but this is the first time I myself personally have been so involved in a Web3 related game. And I think my for a first experience, I think this is amazing. Like I don't know much about other communities, other games personally for Web3, but like my first experience in the Web3 with Parallel has been really really good. I think it's a bit of luck, a bit of timing, a bit of like I guess it's just a card game, so it works with me. Like I think it just lined up really well that I got exposed to this at the right time right now, and I've been really enjoying myself with this Parallel community. They're very helpful. They're very nice. They're very also they're very competitive at certain times, which is amazing as well. So I really hope that like I think the final thing that I want to say is like it's not what I want to say. It's more like a hope that I have, because I was talking to Mookah about this yesterday as well. That like because we were nerding out over Yu-Gi-Oh, right? So we were saying that like it's so hard to find like a time whereby like everyone is like we built such good Yu-Gi-Oh lore back in the day, you know. So I really hope that with Parallel we can build some good lore that like maybe 20 years from now, 10 years from now, we can say like, oh, do you remember that this Lamby person won this Parallel tournament? It was like the first one, that kind of thing. Like people, I want people to care about what is done in Parallel now for the future. So I really hope like maybe when we eventually go to Mars or something, people will remember us on Earth, that kind of thing. Okay, but like anyway, yeah, I just want what we do in Parallel to matter for the future, and I think there's a chance. I think there's a chance, yes. So yeah, that's how I want to end this off.
Honestly, I just got chills a little bit there because I think that we already are like building the lore.
Yeah.
The reality is that we're kind of fighting an uphill battle, and I kind of wanted to ask how you manage and deal with, like kind of the ridicule essentially of speaking up for Web3. I'm curious.
Yeah. So it's interesting because I'm relatively new to Web3. So to me, it's more about speaking up for the authenticity of Parallel, right? Because I
Mhm.
will never speak of something or speak up for something that I don't personally am involved with. But I am very
Yeah.
involved with Parallel. So when people ask me about like how do you think about Web3 gaming, I don't actually tell them my opinion on Web3 gaming. I just tell them my opinion on Parallel, because I'm involved and I am happy to be with Parallel. I don't know about everything in Web3, but I always only speak up for Parallel, and I think Parallel is doing a lot of like things correctly, in my personal opinion. So that's what I can say. But I guess my community in general, some people like it, some people don't. But no one is really saying that like I cannot do this. Like I cannot do that. I mean, if they are saying that, I'll just ignore them anyway. So
Mhm.
I'm just someone that like has always been the guy that does my own thing, and like as long as I'm fine with myself and I'm true to myself, then yeah, whatever you want to say, I don't care, right? So I'm less of an advocator and more of a, I'm doing it. Whether you want to follow me, it's up to you. You can, and if you want to, if you don't want to, it's fine. So I guess leading by example, right? Like I'm someone that jumped head first into this. I love it. If you want to try it out and like because you see I love it, go ahead. But if you don't, sure, that kind of thing. Like I'm less about convincing and more about like building myself. So yeah.
I love that. I do.
All right.
All right, Mooka, any final thoughts before we head off here?
No, I think Lambie hit it home with the last one. Like, I think one of my biggest goals is to just have Parallel be something I can look back at like 10 years and be like, remember these moments, remember these formats.
Yes.
We did that a lot yesterday with Lambie in like a chat, and I was just reminiscing, man. Like, there were some good moments, and I was like, I want Parallel to have the same. So, I think a lot of us are pushing for that, and that authenticity and that like love for wanting to make the scene bigger will do wonders in like a few years from now. So I'm happy that Lambie touched on it, and I'm just hoping that we see this in even 3-4 years. We'll still probably be a part of it and be like, remember that moment that we talked about in this one podcast? Like, look at where it's come now.
Yeah.
Oh. It's been a very wholesome episode, and it's truly like not a wonder why you're doing so well and performing so well, and you've got a really amazing head on your shoulders, and you've again learned that kind of alchemy of how to master stress and put it towards production of amazing things. So, hats off to you. And I suppose this concludes the episode. Again, guys, parallelleague.game for more information about the league, how to compete. And yeah, we've got a lot of amazing competitions on the horizon. So thank you so much. If you are listening on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, we really, really appreciate it. And we'll see you guys in the next episode.
This was a 983 Media Productions podcast.